How cell phones diverted The Departed from classic gangster genre films such as The Godfather and Goodfellas. Cell phones tie characters together that aren't even in the same space. You have to have a cell phone in order to have a connection. Cell phones give an extreme power and weight to characters and quickly and effectively move the plot line in a direction impossible to achieve without them. Watching Scorsese's The Departed, there is no contesting that it would fall under the genre of a gangster film.
When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference?
This is through themes of identity, power, good versus evil, loyalty, money, materialism, ethnic background, religion, and mentor and mentee. You will see many familiar archetypes in this film. The mob boss, or the mentor, the police as the ultimate enemy,
We got a cop in my crew. I have my associates search you.
the mobster sidekicks, the woman who further complicates things,
You are trouble.
the mentee, or the young boy learning the trade of the mentor, the life of crime. Finally, the plot line, a crime-fueled rise and fall of a young boy with no conscience as he learns a life of law-breaking and murder and strives towards material goals that ultimately produce an unhappy and unfulfilled life.
You're lying to me.
There are things you don't want to know about.
What are you waiting for, honestly? I mean, do you want him to chop me up and feed me to the poor? Is that what you guys want?
The Godfather. This upcoming scene is from The Godfather's office at the beginning of the movie. All people who need his services have to physically come into his office in order to ask favors of him. Here, Johnny Fontaine, an upcoming singer, had to fly all the way from California to ask The Godfather if he would get him the part in the movie that he was rejected from. All The Godfather's services are done either face-to-face or through his associates.
I don't know what to do. My voice is weak. It's weak. Anyway, if I had this part in the picture, you know, it puts me right back up on top again. But this man out there, he won't give it to me. The head of the studio.
What's his name?
Waltz. He won't give it to me, and he says there's no chance. No chance.
You look terrible. I want you to eat. I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. Now, just go outside, enjoy yourself, and forget about all this nonsense. Listen, I want you to leave all to me.
All right.
Yeah?
Goodfellas. In this scene, the boys are at the bar. This is where they go to communicate and to reveal important news and information. They didn't have cell phones to quickly get news across. They had to meet up and share what they knew in person, or of course through other people, word of mouth. In this scene, where Henry talks about the Italian mob through Polly, it is explained that all the business is done through word of mouth and through tiny meetings that is passed down and whispered from person to person. It is all about who you know and what you know, and cell phones, of course, have nothing to do with it.
For a guy who moved all day long, Paulie didn't talk to 6 people. If there was a union problem or, say, a beef in the numbers, then only the top guys can meet with Paulie to discuss the problem. Everything was one-on-one. Paulie hated conferences. He didn't want anybody hearing what he said, and he didn't want anybody listening to what he was being told. Hundreds of guys depended on Paulie, and he got a piece of everything they made. It was tribute, just like in the old country, except they were doing it here in America. And all they got from Paulie was protection from other guys looking to rip them off. And that's what it's all about. That's what the FBI could never understand. That what Paulie and the organization does is offer protection for people who can't go to the cops. That's it. That's all it is. They're like the police department for wise guys.
While The Departed possesses the typical essence of the gangster film genre, as evidenced by archetypes, themes, and plotline, the use of cell phones for not only communication but as weapons of extreme power and identity gives the genre a fresh and exciting edge, as well as transforming its cinematography, mise-en-scène, editing, and sound. The close-ups of cell phones extremely enhance the cinematography. It makes it more of a psychological thriller because you are forced to analyze up close. The text always take up the whole screen, and they're usually lit up in comparison to a dark room. This juxtaposition really highlights the importance of the cell phone. The individual shots in this scene are so rich with symbolism and mise-en-scène. It says so much about the characters and the story through showing so little. That one shot you just saw of the phone with the blood on it, right on top of the talk button, shows how, one, phones can contribute to destruction and murder, and also the emphasis on the talk button shows that speaking and the act of talking to someone on the phone can also be extremely dangerous, especially in the case of this movie. When Billy is looking at these two cell phones on the table, they are actually a projection of his two identities. His moral side, where he's a part of the police, and his background of in crime, his mobster side and his evil side. The cell phones are indicative of his kind of internal conflict that he's having. And when he looks back and forth, his face cut to the two cell phones, it is him deciding which side he is going to choose.
Yeah.
Or meet me.
The fact that cell phones can be quiet through the use of texting is extremely essential in moving this plot along. The fact that Queenan could text Billy discreetly without anyone knowing to turn off his cell phone in order to save finding out who he was extremely essential in this particular scene, and was able to have a way for them to communicate without anyone else knowing. In many cases in this movie, cell phones have ruined things by ringing. They can reveal people that do not want to be revealed, but in this case, they reveal someone that does want to be heard.
How the fuck did this happen?
You're an FBI informant? Are you fucking kidding me?
I got Costello here!
The editing in this film is spectacular. The way it's edited with fast-paced cuts with the cell phones makes tension at an all-time high. In this terrifically intense scene, Costello and his men meet Chinese buyers for stolen goods. The scene revolves around Costigan and Sullivan texting their respective bosses on their cell phones, creating sort of a technological standoff.
to narrow the area.
The editing with the cell phones also is able to show us who's connected to whom and who's watching what. It lets people in on special secrets that most of the other characters do not know. Usually it's close-up shots of the cell phone and then back to a character's face. These are good for juxtaposition and parallel match shots.
The buyers are there.